Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have Judy. Judy has a bomb drop of September 20th, 2019 and a date of marriage of 1985. Her MLCer is a boomerang who is a high energy replayer. And this one has a very difficult piece to it. 3 days after bomb drop, our 21-year-old daughter died suddenly. Judy, I'm so sorry. It's hard to imagine because you had 2 bomb drops, didn't you? Within 3 days of each other. And they weren't linked. I'm assuming, at least. They weren't linked. I'm hoping. They weren't linked. But 2 separate things. And the irony that she died after this happened, but right immediately after it happened. I'm so sorry. I mean, you've already gotten what you thought was the worst thing in your life. And then you find out it can get worse, can't it? I'm so sorry. It's left me a little speechless. So I just want you to know that I don't understand in the sense it hasn't happened to me, and it has to be so painful for you. And I am sorry for your loss. And I'm so sorry that you had an MLCer during that, because they shockingly react like he did. And so here's what happened. He left for the alienator 2 weeks later with 0 empathy for me and our other children who were 34, 30, and 15. The alienator has broken up with him twice. They are currently back together again. He now has some insight into himself. Now, Judy doesn't expand upon what that would be. It's just a statement on its own, so don't know what the insight is. But she says, both times my husband he wants to return to the property to help with doing maintenance, but to live in his own cabin. However, he only wants to do that during the cold season because it's too cold where he lives, which is 2,000 kilometers away. And then she says self-interest in parentheses about that. They've had no relationship talks. He says he wants to keep in touch with me and that I will always be in his life. Last night, he sent an email expressing sadness for the loss of our daughter, but he mentioned the alienator, which adds more sadness in our time of grief. Do I tell him that this hurts me? So I'm going to stop for a moment and reference this. This was submitted on the anniversary of bomb drop, or 1 day before the anniversary of bomb drop. So basically, it's the anniversary of their daughter's death. So all you're getting, which I'm assuming that's why this was talked about during this time, expressing sadness for the loss of our daughter, but mentioned her adding more sadness, and that adds more sadness in this time of grief, because I know that on that anniversary, that's going to come up again and again each year. Do I tell him that this hurts me? I prefer to give the alienator no oxygen, knowing that he doesn't have the patience for her insecurities about me. I don't want to appear like her, but this hurts. Do I need to go no contact to stop Katie? First, no. You don't. I don't sense that this is really what I have experienced as cake eating. Cake eating is a whole different problem, and it doesn't feel like you're getting that. And I would rather that you have an open line of contact and communication using smart contact. Now, about should you tell him that it hurts when you reference her? Yeah, you can, but let's find a way to do it that doesn't reference that it hurts you, not using that kind of terminology. Because that's about you. This hurts me. And he's an MLCer. You're important, but he's an MLCer. And we know how they are about what things that affect us. Big deal, no empathy for it. So instead, you're going to reference him and his behavior. He shouldn't be bringing her up because it's not appropriate. Now, When you do that, you're going to change some of the tone of your voice. Oftentimes, especially with this situation, I would use a softer tone, a little bit deferential. Maybe what Chris Voss, the author Chris Voss, who wrote Never Split the Difference, which is about negotiating. It's a lot of communication techniques. He calls it the late night DJ voice. Now I'm going to switch from the late night DJ. The other voice I often use is my voice of authority and command. I got lower. I got a little louder. I got more clipped. I don't want that voice either, but I want a midway between those because I want you to be firm, like the voice of command. But due to the situation, I still want some softness in that. I want you to soften the command voice. He's being inappropriate. And if it weren't this situation with the grief, I might be harder on the command. Let's see that for a moment. You know what? That is inappropriate what you are doing. It is inappropriate to discuss her, to bring her up, and I don't want to hear her name. That's the voice of command. It's not soft enough for the context here, though. So I want to use that kind of phrasing, but just tone it down slightly, but keeping the firmness in your voice. I'm really sorry. I know that you're in grief, and so am I. But bringing Mary up, and I'm using Mary because that's the alienator situation, my name. So I'm just trying to put a name. I don't want it her. I want her name. But bringing Mary up in this is not appropriate. Your relationship with her is not appropriate. She is not a part of my life, and I do not want to give her energy. When you bring her up, and when we're talking about our daughter, and use her name, that is disrespectful. It's disrespectful to the family, to daughter's name, to me. And I don't expect you to do it again. Yes, we're all, you, me, and then you reference the other kids by name. We are all experiencing our grief, and we do at this time every year. But you need to leave her out of it. Notice how my voice got soft, and then it got firm, with a little softness in it, when I referenced back to how we're not going to talk about her. I want you to work on practicing that voice. Go look up truth darts, how to write truth darts, and that the idea is to write a truth dart based on the idea that this is inappropriate. It is inappropriate because that's his behavior. He's being inappropriate. Inappropriate that you are bringing up the woman that you used to destroy our family, or whatever you put into that. But the theme is inappropriate. If it's a different word than inappropriate, whatever works with him. But that's the theme. So I'm not trying to go too overboard on adultery and slamming it with cheating, infidelity, slut, whore, all those. There might be times when I would do that, or a different situation I would do that. I'm trying to use language that highlights that it's inappropriate, but not judgmental in it. I'm still trying to be soft enough that I don't destroy trust. Now, they can choose to say, Phil, I don't feel safe with you. But you're going to do everything within your end of the power to help him to feel safe. You're going to talk with that soft enough but firm enough voice that this is a boundary. Now, he might then, what is he going to say in response or reaction to it? Well, you're just being hurtful. You're just too sensitive. So the next thing you do when you prepare these scripts is you prepare your response to that, what you say. Or, yeah, it might seem that way, and I'm sorry you feel that way. I don't need to hear about her. Sure, you want to think I'm hurt? Go ahead. But that's not what this is about. This is about you inserting her into our family life where she doesn't belong. And that's inappropriate. You just reiterate it. You just repeat a version of what you said. And, it's not up for discussion. Maybe if he's really, sly, well, you're giving her energy by bringing her up. And he's right. You're giving her energy. And so what I want you to work on is a balance. Because you are giving her energy by bringing her up at all. And your idea is to not bring her up. But then are you allowing and enabling him, making him think it's okay to bring her up? There has to be some balance where sometimes we acknowledge something that we don't want to happen has happened. Because if we don't acknowledge it, it continues. So think about in the media when maybe there's a lot of crime. How much do we report the increase in crime? It's horrible. And how much do we not report it to give it negative energy so that it feeds on itself and continues and just becomes a snowball effect? Same thing here. You have to find a balance of referencing her in order to not reference her. And only you know where that balance is going to be laid, okay? But it's going to come with practice also. So I will try to remember to put the Truth Dart link below your question. And then you can go to that, look up what Truth Darts are, what they're about, and then practice writing your own Truth Darts based on the theme of inappropriateness in referencing the alienator. And you might want to keep it to that context of when you're talking about your daughter. But what I mean with that is I don't want you to be so specific that you could go in and say, oh, so I can talk about her in other situations. I just mean that when you give that Truth Dart, it needs to be coming out of a context where it was like that, rather than peppering it every time he brings her up. Oh yeah, Mary and I are going to the store today. And he just happened, I don't know why he told you that, but it had nothing to do with, you weren't talking about your daughter or anything. Let it go. Sometimes you ignore it. But when he brings it up in this context, and you don't have to say that in the Truth Dart, but when you give the Truth Dart, it's when he has brought it up at a time that makes it even more inappropriate. I hope that wasn't too confusing, but I hope this was helpful to you. And I'll see everybody in the next question.